Hello, everyone, and welcome to Seriously Loco, the Seriously Crazy Fan Podcast for El Paso Locomotive FC. I'm Phil Bakke, and I'm joined tonight by my co-host, Christian Canales. Christian, how's it going?
It's going all right, man. We're in the dog days of summer.
The dog days, indeed. And Locomotive have not found these to be happy days in the heat, and unfortunately, we'll be talking about another down day through these hot days for Locomotive, but yeah, and we're joined as well by Mika Burrell. Mika, how's the summer been treating you?
Yeah, it's been fine. I mean, it's flying by, to be honest. We're now into monsoon season here in El Paso, so like the weather will tell you in the morning like it's gonna be 100 degrees, but it doesn't tell you that it's gonna like pour at like 3 o'clock. So every day is an adventure here in the Sun City, but pretty good otherwise.
Well, yeah, it is similar up here in Ohio in that it is fluctuating wildly between just being ridiculously hot and then pouring buckets of rain. So yeah, we're we're making it, but a handful, like obviously it's been a bit since we were able to record. I think the reality of the summer is that as much as you think you're going to be free, travel and all that stuff sort of creeps in. So glad we were able to get back and talk, although wish it was under better circumstances. We'll obviously be talking about Locomotive's loss to San Antonio over last weekend as the main part of this podcast, and then looking ahead to Sacramento Republic and the late kickoff out there in California. That's an 8 p.m. Pacific kickoff. So we're just USL after dark for your boy.
Damn.
But the Sac Republic and a trip to California for Locomotive, which no one ever is looking forward to, given the history there. Obviously, we're Seriously Loco, and if you're finding us for the first time, be sure to subscribe and all of that stuff on all of the major podcast platforms. Christian, before we kick off with some Locomotive news, do you have a question for us today?
I do. You guys are going to have fun with this one, but it might be too hard for you guys to actually pick an answer. So we'll just say the first one that comes to your mind. But what is your like number one no skips album?
Oh my goodness.
I've got a list. Nobody's gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about, but
That's a good question. I guess I'll go first. I mean,
yeah, go for it.
Take This to Your Grave by Fall Out Boy.
That's hold up.
Just a goated album. Like, people say From Under the Cork Tree, like that's when they really like broke out into the mainstream, but Take This to Your Grave, the Blue album, just hits super diffy.
That stuff, every song on it is so catchy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They all just completely stick to you.
I knew, like, listening to it, like, they're gonna be huge. Like,
yeah.
And that wasn't even them at their, like, poppy. Like, that was pure, like, pop punk. But, like, they just have the melodies and everything. Like, they're just geniuses. Like, that's one of the finest exports out of Chicago, if I do say so myself.
It's so funny that you went that direction, because that was immediately where my mind went in terms of, like, I was like, I can hit them with a, like, something that people will know. And Fall Out Boy was immediately where my mind went. Like, that is a genuine no skips album. And it's unbelievable. And like you said, it's a couple of kids who out of a recently broken up metalcore band that wrote a pop punk album, and then they added just like a crazy vocalist, like totally,
who was a drummer,
totally,
and they were like, "Well, we need you to sing," and he was like, "I guess."
Yeah. No, that is definitely up there. I'll go like in a similar vein. I'll keep it in the pop punk realm, and like a band that eventually made it huge, but Paramore.
Which one?
So, I mean, All We Know Is Falling is the Take This to Your Grave of Paramore. It was the one that broke them out. Riot, I would argue, is also a No Skips album, which was the follow up with with Misery Business that everybody latched onto after that. But yeah, I'll say All We Know Is Falling from Paramore. Just that, like, again, the one right before they became like a mainstream hit, and the one where you definitely knew, like, damn, there's something crazy here.
Yeah, that was another one. It's like, yeah, they're gonna be huge.
Yeah.
I'll give one more from a different genre, and that is Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. Crazy album. Like, and I'm not a hip hop head by any means, but that is an album that, like, really, it reminds me of college because that's when it came out, but like every song is good. And then there's like skits in between. So you really are like being told a story. I love that album.
I feel like Christian's getting ready to unleash something wild.
It's nothing. Okay. I don't have anything crazy. I was trying to find something crazy because like one out of my top 3 we talk about all the time, and that's The Fever You Can't Sweat Out. But that's too kind of like low hanging fruit. Just because we all know that about each other already, between the 3 of us. But I've got 2. So one is Take Care by Drake.
Yeah.
That's a really solid one.
Yeah.
All the way through.
As canceled as he is.
Yeah.
That album goes hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like all the Kanye West albums too. All the everything up to like Graduation for me. But my other like specific one would be 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars. Also, that one's also no skips for me as well.
Nice.
That's a very good album.
We covered it. Pop punk, pop, hip hop.
Yeah. And then I'll just drop
Phil,
on my way out.
One of the
on my way out. Plagues, The Devil Wears Prada, fucking absolute bangers all the way through. That was their like the one that got them that they were playing on Warped Tour 2008, just like amidst the Pop Goes Punk as well of what was it, Punk Goes Crunk. They did Punk Goes Crunk, and they did fucking Big Timers.
Yes.
Still Fly.
Still Fly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And that was in the Plagues era. So
R.I.P. Warped Tour, right? Or is it back?
It's back as like a festival, which like a one-offs, which I'm like, that's not the same.
I'm not.
And also, it's like the opposite of
tour,
what it should
right?
be. Yeah, like the tour was famous for being like cheap.
Right.
And festivals are like your firstborn child for like a weekend pass.
And the idea is like you go to Warped Tour as a broke child and suffer for like 16 hours. You are sunburnt to absolute shit, like dehydrated, beat up, just raggedy by the end of the day. Yeah.
I remember my first Warped Tour, right as
in Cruces,
Fall Out
probably,
Boys.
right?
So the first one I went to was actually at the racetrack in New Jersey, Warped 05.
Oh shit, yeah, okay.
And Fall Out Boy, that was right when they were like getting big, and they were playing the first set on the main stage of the day. So obviously everyone was there. And as soon as they start playing, everyone's like crowd surfing all this, and I just turned to my friend and she's throwing up.
And like 05, you were like 13, right? That's
insane. I was literally like
that is crazy.
7th or 8th grade. But yeah, I was just like, what an experience.
But
Warped 06 in Las Cruces was a lot of fun too. That was more of like, I feel like the side stages hit that year more than the main stage. Like main stage had like Under Oath, AFI. Those were still good, but like the side stages really hit because there was like Chiodos, Scary Kids Scaring Kids, etc.
I'll say
today's 13-year-olds could not handle Warped Tour.
No.
Nah.
I was at Warped Tour in Las Cruces in 2012, and fucking Pierce the Veil in Crucis went insane. For those who know. But I've never seen a Pierce the Veil crowd like go that crazy. That was very funny. Like they were on the main stage and just went absolute dummy.
Because they're like the Mexicore band. Like they call themselves that.
I had never seen them that close to the border, and it went different.
They went crazy at Don Haskins that year or two ago when I went. That was a good show. But yeah, no, good question. Now I'm gonna
question.
spin some old shit once we get off this call.
No joke. No, it was a good question. We could do a whole podcast on that. Goddamn. So,
I mean, what happened to hardcore football, guys? That's what it was for.
I know. Doing too much. You're doing too much.
Yeah.
Spread yourself too thin.
Yeah. So, guys, I mean, in jumping into the locomotive stuff, obviously it's we've got San Antonio to talk about, but to start off, we did have a bit of news around the club in that it was announced by the club that Tumi Moshibane and the club mutually departed ways, which obviously there's always, I approach these things like relationships. They may say it's mutual, but it's never mutual. But I think in this case, Tumi finding himself in a tough spot in that he's not getting the playing time he wants. Obviously, and Wilmer obviously not trusting his ability to actually produce at the top end. Word on the street, I don't know if it's been officially announced yet, but word on the street is that he's headed to Charlotte Independence in USL League One. So, but that's I don't know if that's official, but that is the word on the street. So, I mean, surprising, I would say, in terms of like the club's goals output recently has not exactly been off the charts for as good as the start to the season that they had. But to me, obviously not seeing, aside from some 5-minute cameos here and there and maybe starting in the Jägermeister, like not getting the looks that he would have thought at this point in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just hasn't really worked out for both parties. I mean, obviously he had a lot of appearances last season, like over 30 appearances, but never really could produce at the level that was expected of him, I think, when we signed him from San Diego. So, and there's reasons for that go beyond him and his talent, because he is a talented footballer, but I just think he never really settled into a position, really. And when you've got, different coaches that have different philosophies and ideas about how they see you, I mean, it became a meme on the podcast with during the Brian Clarehout era of like Tumi's an 8, like it's like since when? But yeah, and so it's just a shame because I think the three of us always felt like his potential was just not being tapped in the blue and yellow for us. But yeah, I hope he does well at Charlotte Independence. I mean, it sounds rude to say, but like getting on a little bit, I think he's like 30 years old now. So, this might be the last like significant move for him potentially. So I do hope it works out, but yeah, just never really seemed to produce at a level that the club felt, comfortable persisting with him. And I think, to be fair, Wilmer Cabrera was pretty clear about that, right? When we asked, why doesn't he play? And it was pretty simple: goals and assists. Yeah. Which, of course, that becomes kind of like a catch-22 of like, well, if he doesn't play, he can't get goals and assists and what have you. And we don't have to relitigate all of that. But yeah, it's a shame. On the other hand, though, like I do question like the practicality of this, because knowing Locomotive, we love ourselves a good suspension and an injury every now and then, and we've got both in the club right now. And so who's gonna come on? Because
right,
I'm sure we'll get onto it, but Frank Lopez isn't exactly lighting the world on fire either. So
yeah.
Anyway, best of luck to Tumi, obviously, but sad it didn't work out.
Yeah, and for me, I guess the only thing I'll add to that is that I just hope that that means that there is something in the works coming. You know, obviously now we have a roster spot open, and so hopefully they do something meaningful with that and not, just sign up the next, next man up from the academy team, which we are want to do.
Yeah, that's I think that's the struggle that I'm having too in terms of Amando Moreno immediately. Yeah, we'll get on to the fact that he won't be available against Sac Republic, and Toomey would be a very sensible player to start in Amando's place, like, in a given time, even given his struggles. So anyways, I do think there's probably a player driven element here, and we don't have to like completely beat it to death, but I do think that there could have been, Toomey's agent being like, hey, we've got a chance to move somewhere and actually be playing. It's a little late for you to like just sit on the bench at a championship side. If you want to like maximize the time you've got left, we've got suitors, so like let's make it happen. Because I don't think it's necessarily like a great move for the club, to be honest. Like not that they didn't, that they can't benefit from the potential like open salary space or something like that. But yeah, I think the timing and all of that, and the fact that there wasn't something sort of immediately lined up, maybe suggests that it was more a Toomey thing than a club thing. Because I do think we will see a little bit of an awkward starting front three from Wilmer in the next match. But all that being said, Locomotive on Friday night, so 4th of July, all this stuff, packing the stands, fireworks night, and unfortunately whimper to a 2-1 loss, late winner for San Antonio, very dramatic win for them. So we'll get into everything, but starting with the team that Locomotive started with, not a ton in terms of shakeup, but we did have obviously a missing Palermo Ortiz, which is maybe the headline and maybe sort of I guess like we'll talk about the back four's performance, but what else stuck out to you guys about this selection, if anything?
I think obviously the marquee, the headline is Jamali Waite back finally from Jamaica duty. I think Sebastian Moramora did fine, considering in his place, but obviously our number one being back is always good. But yeah, I think Palermo Ortiz missing, like we gain one piece of continuity back and then we lose one immediately. So that's pretty unfortunate. Obviously, Palermo suffering that lower body injury against Monterey Bay, where he tried to continue, and not sure on the severity of that. We'll try to investigate that, but clearly not even good enough for the bench. But otherwise, for better or for worse, I think this team kind of picks itself. I think there's a clear delineation between the starters and the bench at this point. And again, whether like that's good or bad, I don't know. I guess we could debate that. I think I would have preferred to see Kofi Tumasi get a start in the defense. I think the Akwe Alfaro partnership is just a little too chaotic for my liking, and really not enough culture on the ball, I would say. But again, you lose that because of Palermo Ortiz, so maybe I'm being a little bit unfair there. But other than that, I mean, no real complaints. As I said, I think this is pretty much picking itself at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious if there's something going on with Tumasi, because he played. I don't think he started. I'm trying to look at my notes here. He didn't start against Roots. Came off the bench at halftime there. But then he wasn't in the squad. Was he on international duty? Does he
I
have
don't think
international
so.
duty somewhere? It's like
I
he
don't think
wasn't
so.
in the squad against OC. He was in the squad against Monterey. And then he comes off the bench in the second half here. So something to look into, because I agree with you, Mika, that I would definitely prefer him over Alfaro. All other things being equal.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. And like you said, Mika, the team kind of picks itself. I would say there's probably a shape thing here in terms of the fact that, we've gone to this 4-3-3, and somehow, like, for large portions of this game, I think the Coronado de Roma, like, Calvillo midfield, there are like large parts of this game where I think it feels totally disconnected, and I don't really understand like what everybody's job is. And I'm not sure that they do either. And Coronado is like recently had a bit of a like rough patch, I would say. But going back to the like 5-2-3 or whatever that we were playing, where you have Ricky Ruiz and Gabby Torres playing like the same position and all this, like there's just a lot of there's not a lot of great like options there. And yeah, ultimately, I mean, I think it's fair to say that the beginning of this game, Locomotive had a 2-week break for the first time in like recent memory, in terms of like a long layoff, all that sort of stuff. And whenever we have these long layoffs, you sort of think like, okay, well, they're going to come out like really fresh and like really like race out of the blocks and all that sort of stuff. And sort of regardless of who the manager is, regardless of who's on the field, like Locomotive has just never benefited from these long breaks. Like they always seem to come out sleepy when they come off of these like 2-week breaks. And this game was unfortunately like no exception.
Yeah, I mean, we came out very flat, very kind of lifeless almost. That might be a little bit harsh, but like you said, it's just like typical Locomotive anytime that we have any sort of extended break. It's funny because I think we, as content creators for the team, like we also help shape the narrative when there's like 3 games in a week. We're like, oh my God, busy week. And it ends up being like preferable almost.
Right.
At least for those of us watching. I don't know. Obviously for the players, that's a lot, right? And you barely get any time to look at video, much less be on the practice pitch when you have a week like that. But yeah, 2 weeks off and coming out like that. I mean, we've seen this movie before. I don't know why you make the point that it transcends any one manager, but it's just very strange. And then Andrew Forrest, the general manager and business operations guy, was on commentary briefly, and he mentioned, we just got off of our mandatory mental health break, which I'm quoting him. That's what he said. And I was like, mandatory mental health break, like according to whom? Like, not that I think that that's bad necessarily. I just never heard of this, and I don't think you guys had either. And so no. I did try to like dig into the collective bargaining agreements with USL Championship and USL League One, and there's like a small blurb about like USL League One players and the league, interfacing about possible like mental health breaks in the future. But I didn't see anything, and to be fair, I didn't go through every single page with a fine-tooth comb, but I didn't see anything saying that was mandatory, much less in the USL Championship collective bargaining agreement. So I don't know. I could be extrapolating a lot from that comment, but it just struck me like, what are you talking about? Because when you say mandatory, it makes it sound like somebody's imposing that on you. It's not the club, right? Like if he had said our mental health break that like the club provides, but to say mandatory, it just sounds like that's from on high somewhere, if that makes sense. Yeah. So if that was the case, I hope everyone's mental health is in tip-top shape, obviously, but it did not do us any good on the pitch.
Yeah, it was just slow. And I mean, Christian, it's, I guess, fair to just jump straight to San Antonio's opener, because it actually comes from a Locomotive free kick up like up their left wing. And Gabby Torres like takes it after the foul. We cycle possession back through the back four, and it's DeRoma plays a crossfield pass to Quezada out on the right-hand side for Locomotive. He plays a pass, like sort of a simple pass back to Wahab Akwe, and it's just like a moment of like a lack of sort of attention or whatever, but Wahab just misses the ball.
Controller disconnected.
Yeah, and then as he's chasing back, he goes to like body Juan Agudelo, who's run onto the ball, and gets absolutely just wrecked, unfortunately, in a totally fair shoulder-to-shoulder challenge that he initiates, gets like absolutely destroyed, and Agudelo then, like, credit to him, bar down and in, like absolutely hammers it past Jamali Waite. But this is an absolutely brutal sequence from Wahab Akwe, one that he'll probably want thrown fully in the bin, like as soon as possible.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it happened, and it happened so early, and it's like, like it's gonna be that kind of day, right? So yeah, I mean, just a mental mistake, and that San Antonio takes advantage of.
I watched this back in like more like granular detail than I should really be admitting, but the sequence, there's trouble in the water before this even happens. Sure. Because right before he passes it to Quesada, the touch is bad. It's very loose, and San Antonio just doesn't press. That's not the trigger immediately. It's loose. He recovers. He passes it to Quesada on the right flank. This is a part that I replayed like a couple times, because Quesada takes the ball, immediately turns his back to the defense because he's looking for a progressive pass. Like, his back is fully turned. Mm-hmm. And I think at that point, that's when Wahab kind of like shuts off. Like, okay, this phase of the play is over. Because then Alvaro's like swivels 180, I guess I should say. I don't do math. And immediately passes it right back to Wahab, and Wahab is like taken aback by it. Yeah. And I think Alvaro's movement in this sequence is very subtle, but like it's very quick. But if you were switched on as a professional footballer, it's not an issue. It was a very quick like scan. I don't have an option, pass back, and Wahab just wasn't ready for it. So like all of that to say that it was coming from like his previous touch and just everything. It didn't look like he was super confident where he was with the ball and in that situation where San Antonio were pretty like high up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the shoulder to shoulder barge, like if I were not a Locomotive fan and I were making like memes about this, like definitely plaster the wasted GTA thing right over that once he gets absolutely barged off the ball. That was so awful to see. And I'm sure for him, like, he'll want to forget that. And it's such a shame because he just scored a great header 2 weeks ago against Monterey Bay, and I think we've liked what we've seen from him overall, but he does, it's really harsh to say, but there is like a bit of the bozo about him sometimes. And yeah, unfortunately on July 4th, that's when it happened.
Yeah, it is unfortunate because I do think, like you said, like Wahab's been a quite reliable defender back there. And in that moment, it was just like once it went bad, it just went as bad as it possibly could have. And there's something about Juan Agudelo specifically being in that moment that he's a bit of a meme in the sense that like he spent all this time with the like, you know, U.S. men's national team, was like at one point tipped to be sort of like the next big thing in American soccer. Obviously never hit those heights. But he does like show in moments why he had that sort of tag on him. And this is one of those where it's like, he's a lot stronger than like you probably think looking at him. And it's not an easy finish. Like, he still has a lot to do. Like, it's obviously it's a much easier chance than it should have been. But to hit it in that way past Jamali Waite, like in off the crossbar, like it still takes quite a bit. And it was, he just showed his quality in that moment. And unfortunately, like this game that ends up being decided by one goal comes down to like 2 moments of quality from San Antonio and like loads of wastefulness from El Paso Locomotive, which is just the story of the last, month and a half has been just not letting other teams take these opportunities and not taking them ourselves. Maybe akin to sort of the Hutch Claire Hout years of like feeling like you get punished by every mistake and never ever punishing the other team for theirs. Like, just that was kind of how this one felt.
And in Wahab's defense too, I think he was put in the Palermo Ortiz role on the night, and that's not him.
Sure.
He's more of the like athletic like stopper to Palermo Ortiz's ball playing defender, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they asked him to do that job and play the ball. And I'm not saying he can't play the ball. I'm just saying he can't play the ball like Palermo Ortiz.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're having to like do the calculus for all of that stuff on top of the job that you already do as just like an out and out defender, that's tough. Obviously we can expect better. I think he expects better of himself, of course. But yeah, just a little bit of mitigation, I would say.
There is a bit of a twist in this game that Sanchez, the keeper for San Antonio, comes off with a head injury. Andy Cabrera was booked in the situation, which I think was all a little bit harsh and maybe a response to the fact that there was a head injury and not the fact that there was something like actually untoward happening from Andy Cabrera. As like him and Tainter are going back towards the goal, Sanchez slides in, Cabrera's trying to dispatch the cutback and like runs into the keeper. So Sanchez does come off for
Namani.
And as backup keepers go, Daniel Namani acquits himself quite well, I would say, across the 90 minutes. Probably has for the most part a quite good game. And there was something about maybe the way that Locomotive have been playing this season in that they are typically pretty good at an even score line or an even game state, like a drawing game state. Their offensive production goes up a ton when they're trailing. And they're a team that plays quite poorly with the lead. So how much does game state play into the fact that like Locomotive end this one with like far the more shots, XG off the charts compared to San Antonio? But when you look at the division by half of the 10 shots that Locomotive take in this game, 7 of them come in the second half, down 1-0, or tied 1-1, like, depending at the time. But almost all of it comes like once the game is in jeopardy versus like drawing. They were quite content to play very conservatively.
Yeah, I think that's fair to characterize it that way. And I think that's one thing that doesn't transcend managers. I think like in the Brian Claire Hout era, we were just very streaky, but I don't think it was necessarily within a game. It was more like over several games. With John Hutchinson, my recollection is we were the opposite, where we were like way too intense at the beginning and would concede a whole bunch. And then now I feel like this team, this Wilmer Cabrera team, they play like a team who thinks they're better defenders than they are. And what I mean by that is I think, and San Antonio is like the perfect kind of analog, because I think San Antonio are very savvy. Like I as far as like game management over the years, and they've retained a lot of like very important pieces, chief among them Mitchell Tainer.
Mm-hmm.
They have a new manager who's not necessarily like blowing up everything that Alan Marcina did. So I still think they're like a pretty savvy team when it comes to like game management and consolidating their position. Whereas Locomotive, I think we are, but we're not. And so like I think we have like the handbrake off a little bit, or on rather, and we're trying to just like play kind of like lackadaisically into the game, and then all of a sudden like the game is getting away from us, and then we get really desperate. And you can't play like that. I mean, on the other hand, I think maybe we think we can do that because we do have goal scorers and we have someone vying for the Golden Boot in Andy Cabrera, but I just don't think that's a sustainable way of playing. And so, yeah, I think in this game, I think in Monterey Bay especially, like, let's not forget that we won, but we were battling, and I think Monterey Bay on another day probably gets something from that game. I just don't think that we're very savvy in terms of like game management and taking our opportunities when we can and then consolidating from there. It feels like we're always chasing when we didn't have to be.
Right. The Locomotive goal, Christian, comes from a like Frank Daroma strike that I'm actually sad gets saved because holy cow, like this is an absolute rip from Daroma. And it's sort of like the reason that Amando Moreno is able to tap in is because the strike is so insane from Daroma that it's almost impossible for Nemani to hold on to. Like he can't catch it. So he should parry it maybe more aggressively to the side, but it falls to the feet of Amando Moreno, who taps in to make it 1-1. Amando probably needed a goal, I'll say, in terms of like, I would say maybe not. Maybe not. I thought Amando Moreno was quite poor in this game. Like in terms of his typical impact just wasn't there. Like he wasn't getting on the ball. He wasn't like directing things. He was very sort of a peripheral figure. So it's good for him to get a goal and just to get back amongst the goals in general to maybe try to gain some momentum back into his offensive production. Like, and I guess that makes what happens later even more of a shame. But for something to fall to his feet, like it's probably a positive for Moreno at this point.
No, for sure. I mean, that's only his 5th goal this year and his first one since like the middle of May. So it was definitely something that he needed, and like you said, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to carry it on into next week. But yeah, I mean, he did what he had to do to put us back in the game. And yeah, I mean, good for him, to be there to get the finish, and it would have been quite a strike from Daroma, like you said, had it gone in. But it puts us, back at level footing at that point. But like I'm sure we're going to talk about, it doesn't take too much longer for the tide to turn against us again.
I do want to just shout out Frank Daroma for the effort because, I mean, Phil, you basically said it. It's an amazing strike. And I also just want to say, I think that we have talked on this pod about how we want more from Frank in the final third. And I think he's doing that, to be fair. It's not always showing up on the score sheet every week, but he had this strike. He set up Andy Cabrera's really good chance right before the end of the first half that Nemani really like stretches from Frank. I think he's really good, obviously, at evading the pressure, very press resistant, but it's nice that he's getting into the final third and actually trying to be the guy that gives the final pass. So if only he had gotten an assist for this, but still it's the work is 90% him.
And the Amando Moreno chance, like while a tap in, I do think it's worth talking about the fact that so USL Analytics on Blue Sky had us at a 1.96 xg, and we do have 3 other chances central from either like the edge of the 6-yard box or like in the 6-yard box in this game. And it's the Calvillo, I think it's a Calvillo header right before the equalizer. If I'm not mistaken, like that came right before.
The really good cross from Gabi Torres.
Yeah. And then I think there's an Andy Cabrera chance in the first half, I think, that's also around that area.
The one that Nabani stretched for, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that like despite everything, like this is a game where I guess unlike previous games where we're kind of lamenting the lack of creation, the lack of sort of like dynamism up front or anything like that, in the end, like Locomotive created plenty to win this game quite handily, and they don't take their chances and leave themselves open to where 83rd minute, San Antonio get a set piece. Locomotive makes a couple of substitutions. A couple of players come into the game. And in the second phase of that set piece, ball falling out of the sky, Alex Crognale just hits it. And hits it probably the best that he'll hit a ball like that maybe in his life. But it's good enough for 2-1 and San Antonio snatch all 3 points, maybe undeservedly, but there was something about that set piece that just screamed danger, like, and it just felt, maybe it's a cliche talking about subs right before a set piece, but there was just something about that set piece that didn't feel right, and in hindsight, obviously, it ended up being the fatal moment.
I made the comment about this on Twitter that like I hate when we do subs during like defensive set pieces in our box. This wasn't a corner, but like it might as well have been considering where the ball was placed. And we do make those subs, and I do think there's something to it. Like it is superstition, but also like I feel like you're like icing the kicker. Like you're like distracting your own team from the task at hand, and a defensive set piece is requires attention from everyone, and they just need to all be in that flow state at the same time. And I think it shows that we were distracted because this ball falls out of the sky for like eons. It feels like there should have been time to react.
Yeah.
But nobody does. We kind of just watch it rainbow over the entire penalty area and find Alex Crognale completely unmarked at the back post.
The biggest guy on the field.
The biggest guy on the field he's a defender, is he not?
He is, yeah. He's a center
back. So, I mean, fair play to him to have a volley like that, a fucking center back. Like, was not expecting that, but he absolutely, like, he hits that so sweet, and it's, past Jamali Waite in an instant, and there's really nothing that he can do about it. But this is not like an individual error. This is just like lack of concentration, I think, and maybe that we had brought upon ourselves.
And it's Memo's the closest player to him, which, if I'm not mistaken, Memo comes on. Was he one of the players that came on in that switch? No. He had come on earlier. So it was Dolenmeyer and Lopez who came on in that late switch. But yeah, Memo just loses him at the back post. And the cross itself is just like a hit and hope. Like it's literally
it's nothing.
It's a put it into the area. Kind of
put
cross.
It in the mixer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, Christian, it's nothing. Like there's no
intent behind it at all.
Yeah.
He has no idea who's in the box or where they are.
Yeah, just put it back into a good area, and yeah, Crognale just he does well to make good contact with it, but it was made all the easier by just what seemed like maybe disorganization and confusion. And then I mean, Christian, that the last real good chance of the game, it is Frank Lopez. So like there's tons of stoppage time. This ref was insistent on the fact that like everything was being added on. So in the 8 added minutes, we were 3 minutes into it, and Frank Lopez has like a gilt-edged opportunity to equalize and at least spare Locomotive's blushes. It's kind of been the story of his. I mean, we talked about Tumi Moshibane at the start of the show, but like Frank Lopez, maybe a similar story in that he hasn't really had many chances to get going, but in the couple of like big opportunities he's had to seize his moment in these sub appearances, he just hasn't done it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's been a disappointing year out of him for sure, and it's kind of like one of those things where like if you're gonna be a bench player, then be like the best bench player there ever was, and he has not been that this year. So yeah, leaves us wanting again from like you said, just this gift of a chance, but can't get it done, and so we're left on the losing side of the score sheet here. I want to say, since we're talking about people who have not been getting the job done, not that this player hasn't been getting the job done, but it's another game where Cabrera is not able to get on the score sheet. And so I went digging, and the last time that we won where he did not score would have been back in March against Hartford, where he didn't have a goal involvement, I should say, because he had 2 assists against Indy. But the last game that we won without a Cabrera goal involvement was the second game of the season, or the third game of the season.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But my point in that is that he needs to start showing up consistently again, because I think it's been a couple of matches. Well, I guess he scored against Monterey, but that was a penalty. His last open play goal was in May against Las Vegas.
I mean, to be fair, he had that really good chance that Nemani just absolutely stretches to get to. But no, I take your point.
But if that's what it takes, then he needs to. If that's what we need to win, then he needs to show up then more, consistently again. He's gone cold a little bit, and it has definitely affected, I think, the direction, the trajectory of the team this season. Because in May, I think we were all kind of flying high, but since then, during this summer, things are beginning to look more and more bleak as the temperature goes up.
It's a really good point about sort of because we had talked about like, is the team a little over reliant on Andy Cabrera's goals? But when you paint it in kind of stark terms of we straight up don't win when he's not involved in goals, like that is a tough pill to swallow. The last action of this game that we definitely have to talk about, and then we can move on, is at the end of the game, it's stoppage time. There's a coming together down the left touchline by Amando Moreno with was it Baron, or I think it was Baron, who was one of the subs. So Amando Moreno coming together seems pretty innocuous. Moreno's getting ready to take the throw in, and then quite a while after everything goes down, the ref comes over and shows him a second yellow, sends him off. The cynical, or the I guess like the kind viewing of this for the ref is like, maybe if you're being very unkind to Amando, he like leaves his knee in or something like that as he falls. Even watching it back for the millionth time, it's really hard to see like what the yellow's actually being given for, aside from the sort of reaction from Baron.
Yeah, yeah. I have a hard time believing that that's well, first of all, not that it's relevant to whether something is a card or not, but I definitely don't think there's any intent there
Sure.
from Amando Moreno to leave the knee in. I think it's actually really the way he falls is quite natural. I mean, he's kind of getting taken out from sort of behind almost, or like adjacent. I don't know. Like, where's his knee supposed to go? Like, I don't really understand. I think it's harsh. I think it's harsh. I think the Cabrera yellow for the injury on Sanchez was harsh.
Yeah.
It just seems like there were cards given out for outcomes rather than actions.
This one in particular is really crazy, and I am watching it back again and again. I've watched it, probably like too many times now. Similar to what you were talking about earlier. The interesting thing about the aftermath of this one is that the referee doesn't make any decision, but goes to Barone, who's gone down holding his head, which Moreno definitely does not make any contact with his head or neck area that he's sort of like holding. He lands sort of in his midriff, whatever. Like, the referee goes over to Barone, leans over, talks to him, and then goes over, produces a card. Like, after he's had the conversation with the player down on the ground. So to me, it is absolutely, he thinks there's been another like head injury. Where by the time Barone like made his point, he was sitting back up and was like actively gesturing towards Moreno, like in the interest of getting him sent off. Like, that was, to me, this is like pure gamesmanship. And I think the referee, unfortunately, was like very willing to play into that.
Yeah, and if we're to take that assumption that like he thought it was, or he was being told it was a head injury, which is like insane, because it's like who's officiating the game? You were the player,
right?
But if we're even to believe that, like, sometimes head injuries happen not due to fouls,
right?
Like, that's again, I don't think Andy Cabrera's yellow card was a foul at all.
No.
And I think actually Duke Keith, who of course, he's the voice of the Locomotive, but I think he's always pretty as objective as you can be on commentary, and he was like, that's harsh.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't agree with that at all. And I'm of that persuasion as well. So yeah, the Moreno getting sent off here, I think he was confused as well. I guess it is a little bit strange that he doesn't like protest it more or look that like outraged, but I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the fact that it was like the 99th minute and he was just like, all right, like, if this game's gonna go to shit, then like, sure.
Right.
But yeah, I find it very harsh.
Yeah.
I think the suggestion is like, you should not have had a leg in that moment. Like, you shouldn't have had a knee.
Yeah.
You know what
Simply
I mean?
don't land.
Right.
Just float to the ground.
Yeah. So yeah, I find it harsh.
Well, sad fireworks once again. Unfortunately, it's how a lot of these games end for Locomotive.
Dude, it was a sellout too. It was like 8,000 people in there.
The largest crowd that Locomotive's ever had, which is really crazy. I would maintain. I feel like people don't know what to do on the 4th of July, like in a weird way. Like, they're just 100%. Like, let's just go. Because that's crazy that this would be the most attended game. Like, I'm not saying this team doesn't deserve it or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, of all the consequential matches that have happened in this team's history, like, this
right,
was
like,
not
it was more than like our inaugural match. Like, I don't know,
more than inaugural, more than the playoff, like more than the home playoff match against Sacramento, or whatever. Like, there's plenty of yeah. Anyways, so Locomotive do lose. San Antonio leapfrogs them in the table as a result. So Locomotive sitting still in a comfortable spot in third in the West.
But we just cannot seem to capitalize whenever New Mexico United drop points.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep. Yeah, New Mexico losing to what was that, Pittsburgh on the same night. So yeah. El Paso unable to take advantage because they would have gone to the top, but instead sit third and, you know, are mired in this West, which is, you know, from first to the bottom is 10 points.
That's insane.
First to 12th, 10 points, separated by 10 points. And we are roughly like getting towards the halfway point of the season, which is just, you know, by contrast, the difference between first and last in the East is 28 points.
Yeah, there's much more like parity in the West right now, but it's because everyone's mediocre.
Yeah.
Whereas in the East, it's like the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah. I think
and a couple big sides really having shockers lately. So
right. Yeah, Tampa Bay just like
Birmingham
being a meme.
That Birmingham team with all those attackers, like how the hell?
Yep. Just can't figure it out. Mark Briggs, though, like the managers in the East are kind of crazy now. Mark Briggs, formerly of Sacramento Republic at Birmingham, and Tampa Bay Rowdies going and grabbing one Dominic Casiato.
Wow. And I believe they had to pay for him.
Yeah.
I think they had to pay to extract him out of Omaha. Yeah, he's joining Tampa Bay at a very interesting time in their history. So best of luck to Dom.
Yeah. He's got a chance to do something. I mean, if he can do something with this team, he's the, I think, 2-time USL League One Coach of the Year. He's the most decorated USL League One coach in history in terms of he's won 2 titles, 2 Coach of the Year awards. Like, just absolutely blew that league out of the water, arriving from Locomotive. So, yeah, now a chance to do it at the championship. And if you can do it at a team like Tampa Bay, like that is a quite, that is a fan base that will certainly like reach out and embrace the guy who next takes them back to where they believe they should be, up near the top of the East. So, yeah, very, very exciting opportunity for Dom, and glad he's getting a shot in the championship. Although I don't think we will get a chance to face, or will we?
I will say it just feels right, though, to have an Englishman at the helm in Tampa. So
it's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But looking ahead, Mika, we've got Sacramento Republic on Saturday night. It is a trip to California. This is never really a trip that we ever relish. Our last trip to California was a 0-0 draw against Oakland, I believe, in June. Or no, wait, I guess the win in Monterey. We did win in Monterey, so that's good. Right. That puts us in good stead. But yeah, before that was the 0-0 draw in Oakland. We've obviously been beaten recently by Orange County at home. So California teams often a challenge. And Sacramento Republic, the form's a little bit hit or miss, but this is a team that, like, when they're on, and they can really cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's really strange to see where they are in the table, just really middling in 6th, because I don't know. I haven't watched a whole lot of Sacramento Republic this season, but to me, it just seems like they might be underperforming a little bit, because some of the stats are outstanding. I mean, 1st in the Western Conference for touches in the opposition box, 1st in the Western Conference for accurate crosses per match, 1st in the Western Conference for possession won in the final third. So, I mean, clearly they're playing up-tempo football, and they can blow teams away. I think they had couple weeks ago, they had like 2 fixtures back-to-back where they scored like 9 goals and conceded none, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Oh, they like bodied Las Vegas back-to-back in 2 competitions. So, yeah. That's what that was. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like Sacramento are not like they're just not like putting away all the chances that they create and all the pressure that they put on their opponents, for whatever reason. So, and they have the best goal difference in the Western Conference, which I think that says something in what we've already described as a pretty mediocre conference this year.
Yeah.
So they're a threat. They're a threat. I don't think we should take any of this lightly. I mean, the record all time is somewhat even. I mean, they've got 4 wins, we've got 6. Someone always wins. We haven't drawn any of our games with Sacramento Republic. And yeah, they've got a little 2-game winning streak going, so it's going to be a big ask for us to go out there and try to get something.
Russell Cicerone is sort of back to being a threat after, some injury issues after arriving in Sacramento, after like his, he was tearing things up with Pittsburgh and just like complete, one of the best goal scorers in the league. He's got 7 goal involvements. Herrera's got 5. Jack Gurr from that fullback position is obviously a threat from crosses and stuff, but he's got a couple of goals. And then the names down the list, when you go Christian Pirano, Trevor Amon, like they have a lot of names on the on the team sheet that are scary. And like you said, they haven't produced maybe to the level that you'd expect across either last season or this. And we'll also have the return of one, Nick Ross against Locomotive, which we've seen a handful of times now. But Nick has, continued to be an influential member of Sacramento, and I think crossed the 100 appearance threshold for them not that long ago, which was a little bit bittersweet to see in terms of I'm glad Nick's career has continued to flourish, and it's tough to see him, achieve milestones with a different club.
Man, is that true? Oh my God, 100 appearances?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
Is
double check.
Is that more appearances than he had for Locomotive? Because if so, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately.
Yeah, 76 appearances for us. So yeah, he's become a Sacramento man. Wow. I hate that. Yeah, over 107 appearances. Wow. And more productive, obviously. I mean, of course, with 30 more games, but
yeah.
Ouch. Yeah, good for him. That just like shook me. What the hell? I'm
sorry to do that to you right at the end of this.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, no, he's definitely become part of the furniture there. And I mean, Jack Gurr's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Roro. It's a good team. It really is. Pirano, like you said. Was Pirano the one that went to Portugal like very briefly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he left San Antonio, went to Portugal, and then came back, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, so back,
because there was another one.
Belongs.
There's another one from San Antonio who went to Scandinavia, who I think is still in Europe. But who was that? Now that guy's name is. Anyways.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a tough game, and yeah, that 9:00 kickoff is diabolical. That's an 11:00 kickoff for you. Are you gonna swing that?
We shall see. We shall see how Saturday goes. No, I'll be in Chicago this weekend for my nephew's birthday.
Okay, you gain an hour.
So I do. It will be a 10:00 kickoff. So I'll likely be up.
Gotcha.
And I'll probably subject my sisters to a little Locomotive terrorism in the evening.
Yeah,
so.
Man. Got to do it to them.
Absolutely. They've been around long enough to know that it's going to happen on these summer nights. So, well, that is, I think all in all, like Locomotive obviously will need to bounce back. It's without Amando Moreno, so a tough hill to climb, and against a team that's got a little bit of momentum going. The the Lopez question, I guess, or Daniel Carter, like who starts in Amando Moreno's place?
Yeah, I was thinking like Daniel Carter would give us something a little bit different because I think Lopez and um Avila are a little like they profile similarly for me.
Yeah,
Whereas Daniel Carter, I think he's more of like I think he asks different questions like physically.
sure.
And he strikes me as like a bit of a nutter. So I don't know. I'm try something. I think maybe
Yeah.
have him lead the line with Avila like just slightly off him.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see that. I don't think he's gotten a chance to start yet in the league that I'm aware of, or maybe ever. I don't know. He had that one. He had a goal against New Mexico United. Is that right? Equalizer, maybe. I might have made that up, but
I think he had. Oh, he scored. He scored against. Or no, wait. He assisted Cabrera on that on an equalizer in like the
that's
first or
right.
second
Yes,
game of the
it was
season.
an assist. That's right. Yes, he had a red card against them, I think.
Yeah.
That might be the impact I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I would. I think I would do that. Like he's on loan, make some use of him.
Yeah. I think there's a chance that Cabrera goes with Gabby Torres moving back to left back recently. I think there's a chance that Cabrera just starts Ricky Ruiz in Amando Moreno's position and just goes for something like safe of like a left-sided player who won't like rock the boat too much. I don't think I'm not saying that I think that's the right thing to do. I just think like to me that's a very Cabrera thing of like
for sure.
I'll just make this wing back a winger for the day.
For sure. No, yeah. I think in terms of what we actually think he will do, that sounds more likely than what we would maybe want, which is something a little more adventurous.
Yeah, try something else.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
But
we need to get the scoop on Palermo Ortiz because I mean, so much of our ball progression is him.
Yeah. And proactive defending too. Like it's like when he's out of the side, like it's just very noticeable because danger is snuffed out a lot when he's kind of roaming around back there versus when we let teams kind of run at us. For
sure. Yeah. But I mean, big match. Need to get something. Yeah. We just gotta win.
Yep. And in California, we've had some dramatic moments in Sacramento before. The Josue Ron Gomez goal in the inaugural season, like in the dying moments that became like a Seriously Loco watch along meme back when we did those down at Bombers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I right that did Emmanuel Sanupe score against them on like opening night, or he almost did?
He cracked one off the bar, I think. Off
the bar.
Or no, like, maybe he did score. He scored. I think it was a consolation goal. What was that?
I just know we came out the blocks like crazy against Sacramento and the. I
was like, we're gonna be the best.
Hutchinson.
We're gonna be the best team.
Yeah, there have been some wild ones.
Speaking of. You speaking the name of Emmanuel Sanupe sent me down the rabbit hole of what is he up to? He is currently plying his trade for Precision FC of the UAE. What is this? What is this? Hold on. What? Okay. Why are they signing? Like, they've got apparently Harry Arter,
Ravel Morrison. I'm dead. What is this?
Ravel Morrison, Matthew Lowton. This is like a who's who of like who played for mid-level Premier League clubs.
Okay.
And also like a 21-year-old Spanish goalkeeper from CF Barcelona.
Bruh.
What is this? This is crazy. Wait, they also signed a guy from Knoxville, from One Knox in USL League One. What is this?
That's insane.
What am I looking at?
Who?
Precision FC of the United Arab Emirates.
Oh my god, there's a Daily Mirror article. Inside Precision FC, why Dubai third-tier team are citing ex-Man United stars and EFL legends.
UAE third tier.
That's wild.
Are they just like this is their way to the top of the UAE?
I guess. All right, well, the more you know. Get that bag, Manny.
Do it. Hey, and there are a lot of places. There are a lot worse places to live than Dubai Dubai. So, or Abu Dhabi, I guess.
Have you heard of this fucking Dubai chocolate?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, why are you showing me like chocolate with like grass in it? Like, can we not? I guess it's just like pistachio, right? Which is not.
It's just pistachio, but it does look weird. Like it does look
Which
weird.
like chocolate and pistachio is hardly like a shocking combo, but so I'm like, why
Right.
is this going viral? I saw a meme the other day that was like, Florida restaurant is serving Dubai pistachio Labubu drinks.
Oh my
The
god.
caption was like, nobody would understand this sentence like 5 years ago.
Dubai pistachio Labubu.
Anyway,
That's
get
funny.
the bag, Manny.
Do it, Manny.
Um,
We are with
in the
you.
meantime, we need to get our bag together
Hmm.
in Sacramento next
Yep.
or this weekend.
Yep. And hopefully they will do it. It'll be a fun watch regardless, but yeah, hopefully Locomotive can get back on back to winning ways. And if you've enjoyed the podcast up to this point, be sure to like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and we'll catch you after Sacramento. But until then, stay loco.